Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. We are in Barcelona in Spain at the OpenStack Summit of 2016, and I'm talking with Misbah Mahmoodi, who is Director of Product Marketing, vCloud NFVi at VMware. Misbah, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Thanks for having us.
Let's get to a question. VMware is a market leader in enterprise virtualization, but your team is specifically focused on addressing the service provider network area, which is a new market for you, for VMware. So what's VMware doing to meet customer needs in terms of both products and services for CSPs?
So it's a really interesting area that we're going into within the service providers. But we need to really look at where VMware has been traditionally focused on, which is the enterprise, as you mentioned. And really, when you look at virtualization and what the enterprises were looking to do, they were looking to have a flexible, agile network where they could spin up and spin down new applications and really provide type of that DevOps type of model, right, going forward. And virtualization really helped them move forward with that. The service providers are also looking at that. They're facing competition from over-the-top providers, and they need to be more agile, be able to launch new services faster to market, and also remain profitable as well. So when VMware a few years ago decided to look into this space, we looked at the technology that we had, and it seemed to make perfect sense in terms of we provide the compute, storage, and networking for the operators, and that allows them to have this infrastructure model in place where they can start virtualizing the different functions, and all of that will be on top of VMware's vCloud NFVi.
As I mentioned at the top of the interview, we're here at the OpenStack Summit 2016 in Barcelona, and OpenStack is regarded increasingly, I think, as a key component in delivering NFV-based services. Where does VMware fit into that architecture and into that scenario? So
VMware is very much on board with being open. We participate in many of the open standard bodies, OpenStack of course being one of them. And so what we've also seen is, especially the service providers, when they started to move towards NFV, what they really wanted to do was address the openness of the network. They wanted to move away from being siloed and having vendor lock, and they wanted to move towards having this open architecture where they can basically plug in multiple different virtual network functions, different orchestration systems, and then be able to offer those services fast to the market. So from VMware's perspective, we really embrace the openness, we embrace OpenStack, and we think it's a great opportunity for operators to kind of move in towards that and start developing their new services and new applications using open standards bodies.
Moving into the telco service provider networking world, it can be daunting in as far as the rigorous standards that are required in a telco world. The public switch telco world can be very, very different from that's required in enterprise. I'm not saying enterprises are slack, by no means. But what I'm saying is the availability of dial tone, bandwidth, etc. that's required for a public service like telecommunications is somewhat different. What other functionality does VMware offer in terms of your approach to the telco?
So if you look at the NFV architecture, basically it's an ETSI standards model where essentially you have on the top layer the management orchestration system. Underneath that you have the virtual network functions, and those are from VMware partners. And then you have the NFVi, the NFV infrastructure. That's where VMware plays a role. And we provide the compute, storage, and networking. And then we also provide the virtual infrastructure manager. This is essentially the glue and the management for your compute, storage, and networking. And that's where VMware has embraced OpenStack, because we use OpenStack to manage the compute, storage, and networking. And we provide the APIs northbound so that any of the developers can go ahead and launch new services, launch new applications using OpenStack. So it's kind of moving forward in addition to just providing OpenStack APIs, we're providing the operations, the analytics, the 360-degree visibility, and that I think hardens our solution and gives more the value to an operator as they start to deploy NFV. Now, in terms of types of services that an operator can offer, in terms of reliability and really what the telco grade requirements are, if you look at NFV, it really is kind of this distributed model where you have multiple different solutions of the VNFs along with the NFVi infrastructure that can be deployed in several data centers. And for example, if one of the data centers were to go down, or if one of the VNFs were to go down, the ability for an operator to quickly spin up a new service very quickly allows them to then be more of a carrier grade type of environment. And so we support that, and we also provide that infrastructure so that we give them the ability to spin up and spin down new services as they require, and we provide all the infrastructure for them there.
How far along do you think VMware is in terms of production OpenStack itself?
So we support the latest version of OpenStack, which is 3.0 Mitaka. We provide all the APIs for that. And so we're very much, in tune with what the new versions are. Now, in terms of the value or what we're actually providing that the operators can actually gain from OpenStack is really around the operations management and the analytics and the visibility of the network. Now, you mentioned something around where the operators need to have this solid carrier-grade network, right? And so for that, they need to have the visibility into the network to make sure that if a service does go down and it is service impacting, that they have the alerts, the visibility to actually see that and then act upon that very quickly, right? So we provide a lot of those tools within vRealize Operations, vRealize Network Insights, and Logging Insight, which actually provides the operator these tools that gives them the insight into the network, gives them the ability to see what the faults are, any alarms, and then be able to drill down into specifically which area, which VNF, or which part of the network infrastructure is down, and then act upon that very quickly.
Interesting stuff. It's fascinating to see the way the industry is going. Misbah Mahmoodi, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.